In this video, let's talk Chiefs versus Broncos, the first matchup of the season between Pacheco Mahomes and Russell Wilson, and dive into how the Chiefs can exploit the juggernaut defense of the Broncos and ride away with a win. But first, how about those? What's up, guys? My name is Cole, and I do daily news about the Kansas City Chiefs, so make sure to sub if you're new, smash that like button, unless you want the Chiefs to lose this game against the Broncos, so don't do that. And let's get into this video, starting with a final injury report for the Broncos and the Chiefs. I'm just going to go over who are questionable and who are listed as out. For the Broncos, there are 3 listed as questionable, 3 listed as out. Guard Dalton Reisner, shoulder back. Nose tackle DJ Jones, shoulder, and linebacker Dustin Sernard, knee, are all questionable at the moment. Meanwhile, linebacker Dakota Allen, hamstring. Tight end Andrew Beck, hamstring/illness. Maybe his hamstring has an illness. And wide receiver Courtland Sutton, hamstring, are listed as out. That's a big one. Courtland Sutton is the Broncos' #1 receiving target, so a big loss for the Broncos, especially for an offense that is already struggling this season as it is. For the Chiefs, Coach Reid said in his presser today that everybody practiced, and when asked about Kadarius Toney, he said that Toney worked, did some good things. As you can see here on the screen, he was working around at practice, doing some routes, catching some passes, but he wasn't given a full workload this week at practice at all. And when asked if Toney would play in this game, Coach said, "We'll see. He will be one that's right there on the border of playing/not playing." And then Coach said left guard Joe Thuney has felt better the last couple of days. And lo and behold, the Chiefs injury report comes out, and the only 2 listed as questionable for Sunday's game are wide receiver Kadarius Toney, hamstring, and left guard Joe Thuney, ankle. Remember, both of these guys missed the last couple of games, so they're listed as questionable, and my mindset about both of these guys is do not let these guys play. I realized Toney was a full participant all week in practice, possibly could have played last week. Toney was limited all week in practice and probably just should not play. You got to rest these guys. Let them get better. They do not need to be in this game. Rest them. Get them well, healthy, and ready for the freaking postseason. I mean, we're going to have other more difficult teams that we're going to be playing later this season, and I believe the Chiefs should be able to get the dub in this game, even without firing on all cylinders, unless a complete collapse happens on all phases of the ball, similar to the game against the Colts earlier this season. But I really hope that does not happen. In fact, it gives me PTSD just thinking about that game. So again, sit them out, please, and thank you. And if that's the case, Nick Allegretti is more than likely going to step in as the left guard like he did last week. And then Kadarius Toney will be sitting out, and the wide receiver room will spread everything around like they have been already. And we'll talk a little bit more about why that's a bit of a bummer considering McCole Hardman is out as well and how that affects them in the red zone. But for now, let's talk about this, the upcoming game, and some thoughts around it. We know that the Broncos, 3-9, are struggling. It's no surprise by now, but the bigger surprise to me is that they are struggling this mightily after the monster offseason trade for Russell Wilson. Not many expected them to do this poorly on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, just listen to this. The Broncos are the worst scoring offense in the NFL, averaging 13.8 points per game. Their season high is only 23 points. They are 30th on third downs, lead the league in punts, lead the league in penalties. They have the fewest red zone drives in the NFL. Meanwhile, Russell Wilson continues to have what is by far the worst season of his career. He's the 4th most sacked QB in the NFL with 38 total. He's actually been sacked twice in every game, and most games has been sacked at least 3 times. I think their average per game is like 3.2 sacks allowed. Wilson's completion percentage is also the worst of his career, 60.1%. Basically, he can't hit the broadside of a barn. He's only thrown 8 TDs on the season, 5 interceptions, and his QBR is 29th in the league. And on top of all of that, the Broncos are 1-8 in their last 9 games, and 10 of their 12 total games have been decided by 1 score, mainly thanks to their defense for keeping them in the game. Their leading receiver, Courtland Sutton, again, he's out of this game, and that leaves things largely to wide receiver Jerry Jeudy and tight end Greg Dulcich, who have a combined 833 yards and 4 touchdowns on the season. And for comparison, Travis Kelce by himself has 968 yards and 12 TDs. It's pretty good. 12 TDs is the most in the NFL, tied only with Devontae Adams. But anyway, back to the Broncos. It's safe to say they are one of the least threatening offenses the Chiefs will play this season and possibly for the rest of Patrick Mahomes' career. The Chiefs just need to have a decent game on defense. That's all I'm asking for. Please, God, just get home to Russ a few times. He can't cook. Pressure him even more. Refuse to give up the big play down the field. He likes to throw the deep ball, but just limit that. Prevent him from scorching you. Let him take what's given, and yeah, it's going to be fine.
Let's ride!
Their leading running back, Latavius Murray, has 348 yards and 3 TDs on the season, and their second running back in total rushing yards, only 30 less at 318, was Melvin Gordon. That name sound familiar? He's on the Chiefs freaking practice squad now, so good luck, bud. And for comparison, once again on the Chiefs side of the ball, Isaiah Pacheco has 521 yards and 3 TDs. Basically, the Broncos offense really struggling, and the Chiefs defense should be able to lock them down. Something else that brings me peace is the fact that the Broncos offense is the worst in the entire league in the red zone and converting those red zone trips to TDs. They only score a touchdown on 37.5% of their red zone trips when they actually make it there. And that makes me happy because the Chiefs defense is 30th in the league, giving up a red zone TD 65.85% of the time. And the secondary has allowed 24 TDs on the season, which is 30th in the league, aka bottom 3. So thank God the Broncos offense is a mere smart car in terms of horsepower, because the Broncos defense is literally no joke. They're quite the opposite of the Broncos offense, ranking top 5 in most categories. They have only given up 9 TDs in the last 28 red zone trips, best in the league, are number 1 at forcing 3 and outs, only have allowed 17 points per game on average, which is second in the NFL, and have allowed only 17 touchdowns this season. Then they allow 5.9 yards per attempt in the air, which is the best in the NFL. They're third in passing yards allowed, third in total yards allowed, third best in stopping teams on third down in general. And again, their red zone defense is the best in the NFL. So Broncos offense, god awful. Their defense, glorious. Anyway, let's park the car here for a moment and talk red zone, because I mentioned that the Broncos defense has the best red zone defense in the entire NFL. Well, you know who has the second best? The Rams. When the Chiefs played the Rams, they were 1 for 6 in the red zone while playing against them. And I've stated this before in more detail in a recent video, but the Chiefs have struggled a bit recently in the red zone on offense since McCole Hardman got placed on IR. They are only just under, they're like 47% or something like that in red zone TD percentage, even though they still average 5th overall on the season. Over the past 4-ish games since McCole Hardman has been placed on IR, they're more like 10th or 12th in the league in the red zone. Some of that has to do with just playing really good team like the Rams and others that are good defenses in the red zone. And some of that is we're missing key weapons, which is why Kadarius Toney missing is a big one. McCole Hardman on IR missing is a big one. Andy Reid likes to use those jet sweeps and other speed type quick passes to threats like Kadarius Toney and McCole Hardman. They're both out. So it is what it is. The Chiefs will have to make do. I'm not too worried about that at the end of the day, but it's just something to note. And when I get to my prediction here later in this video, you're going to see why the score is what it is. Another key to watch from the Chiefs offense, aside from the red zone, is going to be the run game. Sure, they sit near the middle of the league in rushing stats, 17th in total rushing yards, 10th in rushing yards per attempt, and 13th in rushing TDs. However, the last 3 games specifically have been a pretty awesome showing from the Chiefs on the ground. They've been averaging 144 rushing yards for 5.1 yards per carry over the last 3 games. So I think it's safe to say that if Isaiah Pacheco, Jerick McKinnon, and maybe even Ronald Jones can continue the trend of the last few games and establish an effective run game, they can really help the Chiefs offense, because the Broncos defense is middle of the road against the run. They are 19th overall in yards allowed and 20th overall in yards per attempt allowed at 4.5. So please run the ball down their throats and let's get this freaking W. Some key players that I want you guys to watch in this game. Well, that I would watch in this game if I were you. I'd watch Isaiah Pacheco for the reason I just stated. Look to the Chiefs to feed the rookie 7th rounder who took every grown man's job on the roster, and I expect him to have a pretty decent game. Ronald Jones, ironically, believe it or not, may find himself in the game later if the Chiefs pull ahead to rest and protect Isaiah Pacheco. Him and McKinnon are both on the injury report, even though they're full participants, but it's just worth noting that our running backs are getting a little banged up, and if they pull ahead, Ronald Jones could be the guy to see the ball. Another player to watch is going to be Travis Kelce for a couple of reasons. 1, he's going to be pissed about that fumble against the Bengals game and wanting to go all the way off. And 2, while I stated earlier that the Broncos have one of the best third down defenses in the league, Travis Kelce averages a first down with nearly every other completion, every other reception, and clearly leads all tight ends in the NFL with first down catches, 57. The next one from him is Mark Andrews with 36, 46, 21 less first downs than Travis Kelce. And on defense, look for a lockdown game by Trent McStuffy on whichever receiver they put him on, which I'd assume would be Jerry Jeudy with Cortland Sutton out. McDuffie has consistently shown that he's been worth his draft selection. You know, the Chiefs trading up for him, blah, blah, blah. And I don't expect that to change here in this game. Another player to watch is going to be Chris Jones, the CEO of Sack Nation himself. The Broncos offensive line is beat up and weakened by multiple injuries throughout the course of the season. And I think Chris Jones is going to have a freaking heyday, sacking Russell Wilson more than once in this game, and the rest of the D-line probably getting to him at least 1 to 2 more times on top of that. All right, let's get into my score prediction, but first, let me set this up. I think this could potentially be a bit of a slow burner with the Broncos defense stopping the Chiefs offense a few times. Maybe we'll see some punts from the Chiefs. Maybe we'll see some field goals that you would have hoped were going to be touchdowns. And then on the opposite side, I think the Chiefs defense is going to stop Russell Wilson and his offense as well. Basically, every other defense in the NFL has been able to do the same. So why can't the Chiefs? And I would assume multiple field goals happen in this game, it being a bit of a lower score than we'd ideally like. But with all that being said, I think Patrick Mahomes and his offense are going to get a couple of touchdowns, proving too great for Denver and their defense. So 2 touchdowns and 3 Harrison Butker field goals. Chiefs win 23-13. The Broncos get a TD, score a couple of field goals, and get around their points per game average of 13.8. And the Chiefs then win 14 in a row. Patrick Mahomes solidifying his ownership of the Broncos, at least his majority ownership. I know they have a minority ownership in Walmart, or however that works. Walmart bought them out, but they couldn't get the full share. Sorry about that. But with all that being said, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you think the score is going to be? Do you agree with some of my points? Where am I off? Let me know. And until next time, we will definitely fight about it. And I'll see you, if you can make it, to the Chiefs versus Broncos live stream reaction. And again, until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those Chiefs?